Hi, I'm Christie Finn, and I'll be performing on September 2nd in the opening concert of the Resonant Bodies Festival with my dear friend and colleague, Neos, and we will be performing Lachenmann's Got Lost. Before that, I will perform a piece by Nicola LeFanu called But Stars Remaining. Got Lost is about a half hour long, and it's a piece for soprano and piano. It's a very difficult piece to program on a concert because it's kind of a long piece, even though it's half an hour. On a concert, it's quite a heavy piece, so it's hard to program something else with it. But there's this really lovely solo piece called But Stars Remaining by Nicola LeFanu, and I found out about it through Judith Kellogg from Cornell University, who was there last year at the Resonant Bodies Festival, and I became friends with her, and she invited me to Cornell to perform the recitations. We were exchanging repertoire when I was at Cornell. She rediscovered that piece, and then I discovered it, and I think it's the perfect piece to open the festival actually too. So I'll sing it before the Lachenmann. It's for solo soprano. I'll let the rest of that be a surprise. So I live in Stuttgart, and that's where Lachenmann lives. His music's performed around here pretty often. I knew that this piece existed because I heard about it in the theory class. So it's from 2009. The teacher was teaching the class basically on this piece. I was like, oh, I didn't know Lachenmann had a song cycle. I had a lot of trouble locating the score, and it only exists in a manuscript version right now, so it's very difficult to read. Knew through a friend of a friend that Neus also wanted to work on this. And Neus is a Spanish pianist, and she's lived in Stuttgart for 5 years now. So she and I have been working on this piece now for, well, we've had it in our sights for about a year, and we've been working on it for about 7 months. As most of us know, there's usually not that much time to put together pieces. We didn't work every week for 7 months, but almost every week. We performed kind of a workshop version in Barcelona in April of this year. We performed it on July 11th in Stuttgart here. The first time I got into the score was in the theory class. It was really theory-based introduction to the piece. I'm much more of kind of an emotion, expression, text person. I did all of the theory studies. I wrote also a paper on that piece and really dug into that, and then I let it sit for a little while. Came back to it after I heard a performance of it, a live performance. And the performance was here in a suburb of Stuttgart, and it was with the Lachenmann-approved performers. I thought that the performance was a little bit boring, though. I think it was because, from my own personal experience, sometimes when you overwork a piece with a composer, you're just trying to do it right, you are not expressing the piece anymore. And it's not a criticism of the piece or of those people or of him, but it's just sometimes a product of what happens there. And I thought, when I do this piece, I really want to get to an alpha level of this piece, not just the little theory details of how he modulated this to that, but I want to get to what is he really trying to say. The whole piece for me is about loss. Okay, obviously it's called Got Lost. Got Lost is his song cycle. It's like a deconstructed song cycle. So it actually is 3 poems. One of them is in German, one's in Portuguese, and one is in English, and the English one is not actually a poem. It's a note that he found in an elevator, and that's where the name of the piece comes from. Wait, I can read the text. It's really great. So it says, "Today my laundry basket got lost. It was last seen standing near the dryer. Since it is pretty difficult to carry the laundry without it, I'd be most happy to get it back." I love it. I mean, I love that text. I love found texts in general. It's like everyday life coming into art and being kind of lifted up. But the first text that's used in the piece is this text by Nietzsche. It's about that there's no road anymore, and what do we do? Of course, it's a metaphor for Lachenmann. There's no road to go on as a composer, so where do we go now? Then the second text is about love letters, and it's this Portuguese text about how love letters are ridiculous. Then it kind of morphs into, well, actually they're not that ridiculous and I'm the ridiculous one. But it's sort of an absurd text. And then the third text is the Got Lost. It's these 3 different levels of loss, and he explores that kind of by taking apart the text and taking apart first the poems, and then taking apart the individual words and mixing the words together, and of course using sounds like and tongue clicks. And really my favorite part of the piece is near the end. There's a soprano cadenza. You know, when you have a cadenza, you usually get to do all these flourishy things with your voice, and his cadenza does not involve the voice at all. It's all tongue clicks and cheek slaps, I guess we would call it. piece. And to me, that's the whole point of the piece. Everything's been lost. We still have this structure of a cadenza, but soprano is doing the cadenza with no voice. That's what I try to bring out in the piece, is this concept of something being lost, which is also something that's not a new concept to art song. It's the oldest concept possible. If you read the Grove Dictionary article on Lieder now, the last sentences are about this piece. It's already been incorporated into the Lieder canon in a way. That's something that I struggle with a bit in the Lachenmann, I have to admit, because he likes for sounds to not have expression. If it's written at this dynamic, then you need to find all of your levels of dynamics in your instrument, and then when it says double forte, you need to meet it right away and then keep it and then end it right there. I mean, kind of like an electronic music piece. And that's something that sometimes frustrates me about his music, and sometimes I have to admit I kind of disregard it, because his music is actually very expressive. When you sing it non-expressively, I think it loses a lot. And there's a lot to be gained by allowing the instrument to really express what he's written there. I'm not totally disregarding it. I mean, okay, an example is at the end of the piece, the soprano has to hold this long A. The first 3 beats of it is with vibrato, and then after that it's non-vibrato. And the piano has a very big solo, and then meets you up there at the A, and then you have like this tiny little cadenza, and then you go back to the A. Then I made the decision in the performance to sing with vibrato. That was the right decision, because it matched what the piece was trying to express there. At the end, the last word is Gefahr, which means danger, and it has this long rrr at the end, and when you're just like holding this non-vibrato A, and then you go to the, I don't know, it just loses the impact. For me, it's something even beyond what that physical composer wants you to do. With a lot of composers who are really, they do a lot of things subconsciously that they don't realize they're doing. They don't need to recognize it. That's really not even their domain. That's something that the performer needs to dig into. They don't know what the actual deep levels are and how different people choose to interpret those, or even if we don't even consciously make that choice, how we just naturally would interpret that and bring out a whole different level of the piece. The past 2 times that I've been at Darmstadt, there's really this stigma when someone writes vocal music, because a lot of people will say if there's text, then it's not, real music. It's not absolute music. It like brings it down a level. And I mean, first of all, I just think that's stupid. People don't know what to do with singers. And if they are doing something with singers, they just treat them as an instrument and don't use the whole mechanism, the whole instrument itself. That don't use like words or emotion or a larger context that can be brought on. Just so many things that composers seem to be afraid of. All of a sudden, if there's vibrato, it's like Puccini, and no, we can't have that. I just don't know how to get past that. I love composers, and I love hearing what everyone's doing. All of my colleagues are doing, both composers and singers, and so I think the Resonant Bodies Festival is just a fantastic platform for all of us to come together and to do the things we're passionate about. I just can't wait to be part of it again. And it's such an honor to be opening the festival. It's going to be a really fun opening, and I know Melissa Hughes and Gelsey are also just going to rock it on that night. So I hope that you can come out, whoever you are listening.